Hi, my name is Julius Haryadi. I'm a primary care physician and hospitalist working here in the US. Today I'm going to share with you one of my USMLE test taking strategies. Now, I'm pretty sure you heard about this method before. Try to think from a question maker perspective because that will help you to answer USMLE questions. Today I would recommend you to stop doing that. I think it's not useful. I think it's just a waste of time. Let me explain why. Well, the first reason is very straightforward actually. It's because USMLE questions is made by multiple physicians. If you were in a university where there is a professor that has been teaching you for a whole semester, he is the one that gives you lectures, he is the one that gives you papers, he is the one that gives you the exams, that technique would make sense because you can probably guess what he was thinking. He's been teaching you the whole semester. But USMLE question is not like that. There are so many physicians involved when they create USMLE questions, and there is no way to actually know what they're thinking. When I create questions, sometimes I create questions for my students. I like to create this type of questions. I'm sure some of you have heard about this very old technique for multiple choice type questions. If there are two options that are similar, most likely the answer is going to be one of them. So, for example, I make a questions about cancer treatment. Choice A is chemotherapy with radiation. Choice B is chemotherapy. Choice C is surgery. Choice D, PET scan, and whatever. Doesn't matter. A lot of people would think, well, choice A is chemotherapy with radiation. Choice B is chemotherapy. So there are two chemotherapy. That's a very similar option. Therefore, the answer is usually going to be one of the two. So my style of when I make question is I like to make this type of options, but the answer is neither of those. I like to trick people that way. You see, that's just me. But can you imagine what other physicians have in mind when they create the questions? There's really no way for you to know if the information is useful or is it a distraction. Is this a trick questions or curveball questions? Really, you never know. In the end, I think the technique itself is very subjective. You want to rely on more of an objective way to answer questions. Let me give you an interesting analogy. This is another way to think about it. I like to think the question maker is like God. There is no way for us to actually know what God is thinking. Only when probably after we die and go to the afterlife and we ask God, "Hi, God, why you make the animals suffer? Why do you hide from us?" Like things like that. But in the end, you will actually never know the answer. You just predict, assume, make deductions, make arguments of the answers. Now, if you're an atheist, that analogy doesn't make any sense, but I hope you go along with me. USMLE question is like that. I see the one that makes the USMLE questions in the real exam, of course, because in the question bank you can answer, you know the correct answer, but in the real exam you will never know the answer. So it's like your God, right? You just predict and try to think what they're thinking when they make questions, but you never really know what they're thinking. So if you're trying to apply this technique, let me ask you, when you try to think from a question maker perspective, do you think you know what they're thinking, or are you just pretending to know what they're thinking? See? So it's a very subjective. What I propose is a better way, a better version, kind of similar, but it's a better version than this, and it's way more objective. When I was a resident, one of these attending actually was one of the physicians who create board questions. So he just happened to share with me the process on how they create the questions. Now, I'm not gonna go into the details on the actual process of making the questions, but I do share it in my USMLE test taking strategies video series, which is available for free. You can just go to www.juliusharyadi.com/USMLE test taking strategies. I will also provide the link in the description below. But basically, based on that process, there is these rules that they have to follow. So it doesn't matter where you come from, what style of questions you want to throw, they will have to follow these rules. And what is that rule? This is the rule. They have to formulate the questions that ensure enough details to justify an anonymous correct answer. So, how is these rules help us to answer USMLE questions? Let me give you an example. Suppose you're doing this question. I'll give you a pause for 3 seconds and you can try to answer the question. Okay, I'm not going through my test taking strategies steps to answer these questions. You can learn that in my free video USMLE test taking strategies if you want the complete step. Basically, most people would torn between acute otitis media and otitis media with effusion, right? Now try to think it this way. Rather than you try to think what is this question maker is thinking when he's creating this question, which is very subjective way to arrive in the correct answer. Now, I would like you to think, if you're still a little bit confused here, I would like you to try to think this question as ambiguous as it can be. There has to be information that would differentiate these two options. And that this information is enough to make all the experts to arrive at an unanimous correct answer. So basically, all the physicians would agree that this gonna be the correct answer and none of the others. Try to think with this method and give your best answer. I'll give you 3 seconds to pause. Yep, so the correct answer is acute otitis media, because the fever and acuity are the main differentiating factors between acute otitis media and just otitis media with effusion. So definitely acute otitis media can cause effusion as well, so that is included there. These two information would make the experts in this field arrive at an unanimous answer, and that is the acute otitis media. So that is the video for today. I hope it helps your USMLE journey. Now share with me in the comment below. After you watch this, do you think you're going to still try to think from a question maker perspective, or do you like this method better? I would like to know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again in the next video for more USMLE and residency matching tips.